My cousin locked me in Grandma's sewing room and said, "Sign over the house, or I'll tell everyone you stole it from her." 10 minutes earlier, I had been holding a faded yellow envelope tied with string. Inside was the only birthday gift that had ever made me cry before I understood it could also make someone hate me. My name is Clara Wells. I had just turned 31, and I worked as a title records researcher in Madison, Wisconsin. My job was not glamorous. I spent my days inside county databases, reading deed histories, lien releases, probate filings, notary stamps, and little pieces of paper that decided whether a person truly owned what they thought they owned. I knew how property could disappear behind one forged signature. I knew how families could turn a house into a battlefield. I just never believed my own family would become one of my cases. My grandmother, Ruth Wells, was 82 and stubborn, in the way only kind people become after surviving too much. She owned a small blue house on Linden Avenue with white shutters, a leaning apple tree, and a back room full of sewing machines. She had lived there since my mother was a teenager. She had baked funeral pies in that kitchen, hemmed prom dresses in that dining room, and hidden emergency cash inside an old flour tin because she trusted banks less than thunderstorms. After her stroke, I was the one who drove her to appointments, organized her medications, paid her utility bills from her own account, and spent Tuesday evenings reading mysteries aloud when her eyes got tired. My cousin Marcus came when cameras were around. He mowed the lawn once and posted a photo about honoring our elders. He carried one box during a garage cleanup and told everyone Grandma would be lost without him. He called her house the family asset, which was his polite way of saying he had already imagined selling it. That afternoon, Grandma gathered us for my birthday lunch at my Aunt Gloria's house. It was supposed to be simple: soup, cake, paper plates, and old relatives asking whether I was seeing anyone. After the candles, Grandma called me to her chair. Her hand shook as she gave me the envelope. "This is for the house," she said quietly. "Not because you asked, because you stayed." The room went quiet enough that I heard Marcus set his fork down. Inside the envelope was a signed letter, a copy of a transfer on death deed prepared by Grandma's estate attorney, and a safe deposit key for the originals. The deed named me as beneficiary of the Linden Avenue house after Grandma passed. Not now, not immediately, not taking anything from her, just her decision, written clearly, witnessed properly, and placed in my hands while she was alive enough to explain it. My Aunt Gloria started crying, but not the way people cry when touched by love. She cried like someone watching a door close. Marcus smiled. That was worse. He walked up beside me, kissed Grandma on the forehead, and said, "That's sweet, but Clara knows we'll handle this as a family." I looked at him. "No, Marcus, Grandma handled it." His smile thinned. 20 minutes later, he followed me down the hallway and turned the sewing room lock behind us. At first, I thought he wanted to argue without upsetting Grandma. Then he stepped between me and the door. "Give me the envelope." "No. You don't even need that house." "I don't have the house. Grandma does. You know what I mean." He reached for my purse. I pulled back, and his fingers closed around my wrist hard enough to hurt. "Marcus, let go. Sign a family agreement. We'll put the property under an LLC, sell when the market peaks, and split it properly." Properly means against Grandma's wishes? His face changed. That friendly son of the family mask slipped, and something hungry looked out from behind it. "You have always been good at sounding noble while positioning yourself to win." I twisted my wrist free. He lowered his voice. "If you walk out with that envelope, I'll call Adult Protective Services and say you pressured her after the stroke. I'll say you controlled her medication, her bills, her mail, everything." The threat made my stomach go cold, because it was built from real details twisted in the ugliest direction. He had not invented a random lie. He had studied my caregiving and turned it into a weapon. I said, "Move." He laughed once. "Not until you understand. That deed is already complicated." "What does that mean?" He smiled again. This time it was fear pretending to be confidence. "It means you should cooperate before your name ends up on the wrong side of paperwork." Someone knocked on the door. Aunt Gloria's voice came through. "Marcus, Clara? Cake is melting." Marcus stepped closer and whispered, "You have until Monday." Then he unlocked the door and walked out first, smiling at everyone like he had just wished me happy birthday. I went straight to the bathroom, locked myself inside, and photographed every page in the envelope. My wrist already had red marks, but the thing that scared me was not his grip. It was that sentence. Already complicated. The next morning, instead of going to work, I drove Grandma to the county recorder's office. She thought we were only putting the original deed into her safe deposit box and confirming the recording instructions. I did not tell her about the sewing room threat yet. She had slept badly, and I wanted facts before fear. At the counter, a deputy recorder named Mrs. Harlan took the packet, checked the parcel number, and typed into the system. She was around 60, with silver hair cut blunt under her jaw and reading glasses hanging from a chain. Her expression changed slowly. Not shock, recognition, the kind of recognition people get when a normal form opens into a crime. She typed again, slower. Then she looked at Grandma. "Mrs. Wells, did you sign a quitclaim deed transferring Linden Avenue to Hearthgate Renewal LLC? Grandma blinked. No. Mrs. Harlan looked at me. Did you witness such a deed? My mouth went dry. No. She turned the monitor slightly. On the screen was a deed filed online 3 days earlier. Grandma's signature appeared at the bottom. My name appeared as witness. The property had been transferred to an LLC I had never heard of. Then Mrs. Harlan pointed to the notary stamp. "Ma'am," she said quietly, "this notary has been dead for 11 months. Please call the police." That was the moment my birthday gift stopped being an inheritance and became evidence. Grandma's hand found mine on the counter. Her fingers were cold. I called the police from a bench outside the recorder's office, while Mrs. Harlan placed a fraud flag on the parcel and requested preservation of the online filing data. She printed the deed, the submission receipt, the timestamp, the electronic payment record, and the image of the notary stamp. Grandma read the fake signature 3 times. "I never wrote that," she whispered. "I know." "No," she said, looking at me with tears in her eyes. "I need you to hear me. I did not do this." That broke me more than the fraud. She was the victim, and she was still trying to reassure me. A detective from the real estate fraud unit arrived an hour later. His name was Daniel Reyes, and he had the patient voice of someone who had learned that panic makes people skip important details. He asked Grandma questions first, then me. Who had access to the house? Who helped with mail? Who knew about the planned deed? Who had seen her identification? Who had access to my signature? The answer kept circling the same name, Marcus. He had driven Grandma to one appointment when I had the flu. He had stayed at her house to fix the router. He had collected mail while we were at a follow-up appointment. He worked for a renovation company that bought distressed houses, and his new side business, according to social media, was Neighborhood Renewal Consulting. Hearthgate Renewal LLC sounded less mysterious after that. Detective Reyes asked whether Marcus had pressured either of us. I showed him my wrist. Then I told him about the sewing room. Grandma shut her eyes. "I should have said something sooner," she whispered. "What?" She looked ashamed. "Marcus asked me to sign papers last month. He said they were for insurance repairs. I refused because I wanted my attorney to read them. He got angry. Then Gloria told me I was embarrassing him. Aunt Gloria, Marcus's mother, the woman who had cried when Grandma handed me the envelope. By afternoon, Detective Reyes confirmed that Hearthgate Renewal LLC had been registered 2 weeks earlier using a mailing address connected to Marcus's renovation company. The online deed filing had been submitted from a device near Aunt Gloria's neighborhood. The fake notary stamp belonged to a woman named Elaine Porter, who had notarized real documents for Grandma years ago. Marcus had chosen a notary Grandma had actually used. He had done homework. That night, my phone lit up with a message from Aunt Gloria. "Clara, your grandmother is confused. Do not let outsiders turn family paperwork into police business." I stared at the word outsiders. The county recorder was an outsider. The detective was an outsider. The attorney was an outsider. Anyone who could not be guilted at a dining room table became an outsider. I replied, "A dead notary's stamp was used on a deed." She answered almost immediately. "Then let Marcus fix it before people get hurt." People. She did not mean Grandma. She did not mean me. She meant her son. Truth sounds cruel only to people protected by lies. The next morning, Marcus sent one text that told me he knew exactly what had happened. "Tell Grandma to withdraw the complaint. If the deed gets reversed quietly, nobody has to know you witnessed it." I had never witnessed it, but my name was on the fake deed. He was not just stealing the house. He was leaving fingerprints shaped like mine. Detective Reyes asked me not to respond until he could preserve the message. Then, with legal guidance, I sent one sentence. "What did I witness?" Marcus replied. "Don't play stupid. You signed enough." Enough. That word opened a memory. 6 months earlier, at a family barbecue, Marcus had handed me a clipboard while Grandma sat beside the garden. He said the senior center needed updated emergency contacts, and that I just had to confirm I was the person they called if Grandma fell during a class. I had signed 1 page, maybe 2. There had been other pages behind it. I remembered Aunt Gloria distracting me with a question about cake. Shame hit first, then anger. I worked with records, I knew better, but families know which parts of you stop being professional when love is nearby. Detective Reyes said carefully, "People who forge documents often create layers. A real signature can be moved, traced, scanned, or used to make other pages seem connected." Grandma squeezed my hand. "This is not your fault." But I had to fight to believe her. Over the next week, the fraud expanded. Grandma's estate attorney confirmed the transfer on death deed naming me was legitimate and had been prepared months earlier after 2 private meetings. He had notes confirming Grandma's decision and her reasoning. I had cared for her, I loved the house, and she did not want it sold to developers. The fake quitclaim deed, however, had already created chaos. Hearthgate Renewal LLC had used the recorded document to apply for a short-term construction loan against the property. The lender had not funded yet, but the appraisal inspection was scheduled for the following Friday. If the fraud flag had not been placed, Marcus could have borrowed against Grandma's house before she even knew the title had changed. The value of the house was nearly $240,000. The loan request was $160,000. Grandma sat at her kitchen table while we explained it. Her face did not crumble, it hardened. "I scrubbed hospital floors to pay this mortgage," she said. "He will not borrow against my life." That was the first time I heard my grandmother sound more furious than afraid. I moved into her guest room temporarily, not because she was helpless, but because we both needed to know Marcus would not walk into her house with another set of papers. Detective Reyes recommended cameras, new locks, credit freezes, property title alerts, and written instructions that no one except her attorney could bring documents for signature. When Aunt Gloria found out I was staying there, she arrived on the porch with a casserole and a speech. Grandma opened the door but kept the chain on. Gloria's smile faded. "Mom, why is the chain on?" Grandma said. "Because my house has been stolen once this week." Gloria flinched. "That is exactly the kind of language Clara is putting in your mouth." "No," Grandma said. "Clara is the one who finally helped me say it." Gloria's eyes filled with tears. "Marcus is scared. He made mistakes, but he was trying to save the house." "From whom?" Grandma asked. Gloria had no answer. I stood behind Grandma, silent. That silence was deliberate. For years I had rushed to explain myself whenever Gloria cried. I had believed that if I presented enough context, enough softness, enough proof that my intentions were good, she would stop treating me like a threat. But some people do not want clarification. They want access restored. Grandma said, "Bring Marcus here with every paper he has. My attorney present, Detective Reyes present. Otherwise, stay off my porch." Gloria looked past her at me. "You are tearing this family apart." Grandma answered before I could. "No, she is reading what your son wrote." The door closed. That night, someone tried to break into Grandma's back office. The camera caught a person in a dark hoodie stepping onto the porch at 1:16 a.m. He used a key that no longer worked. Then he tried the window near the sewing room. When the motion light came on, he turned his face away, but not fast enough. The video caught the side of Marcus's jaw, his tattooed hand, and the company logo on his sleeve. Detective Reyes watched the footage in Grandma's kitchen the next morning. "He came for documents," he said. Grandma looked at the sewing room door, the same room where Marcus had locked me in. For the first time, I saw her understand not only what he had done, but what he had been willing to do. A warrant followed 2 days later. Investigators searched Marcus's apartment, his work truck, and a storage unit registered under Hearthgate. They found blank deed forms, a scanner, printer paper matching the fake deed, a notary stamp kit, copies of Grandma's driver's license, a folder with my signature page, and a spreadsheet titled Linden Strategy. My name was on the spreadsheet. Beside it, Marcus had written Clara, guilt-driven, risk-avoidant, will fold if accused of exploiting Grandma. I read that line in Detective Reyes's office. I did not cry. I felt something colder than sadness. I had spent years feeling guilty for being the cousins who said no. Marcus had not simply noticed that guilt. He had budgeted for it. Grandma asked to see the line. Detective Reyes hesitated, then let her read it. She took off her glasses and said, "He studied our love like a lockpick." No one spoke after that. Aunt Gloria called me 23 times the day Marcus was questioned. When I finally answered with Taryn, my attorney friend, listening beside me, Gloria did not say hello. "What did you tell the police?" "The truth. You have always wanted to be Grandma's favorite. I wanted her deed to belong to her. Marcus could go to prison." Marcus forged a dead woman's notary stamp. Gloria began sobbing. "He has children." "No, he has consequences." She went quiet, then said the sentence that ended something between us. "If you loved this family, you would take responsibility for the witness signature and let him correct the deed." Taryn's eyes sharpened across the table. I asked, "Are you asking me to confess to a forged deed?" "I am asking you to stop acting innocent when your name is there." There it was. The plan without decoration. Marcus had put my name on the false document so the family could pressure me into carrying half the blame. If I refused, I was selfish. If I agreed, he could call it confusion. I ended the call and sent the recording to Detective Reyes. Guilt is not proof. But the family did not believe the evidence until Grandma made them listen to the recording herself. Sunday dinner had already been planned at Uncle Howard's house for my birthday week. Normally, Grandma would have canceled to avoid conflict. This time, she asked me to drive her. "Are you sure?" I asked. She was wearing her blue cardigan, the one with pearl buttons, and had pinned her hair carefully like she was going to church. "I am tired of private truth and public lies," she said. We arrived after everyone else. The room had that heavy silence of people who had been discussing you, and then suddenly had to pretend they had not. Marcus was not there. His attorney had probably advised him to stay away. Gloria was there, sitting stiffly on the sofa with swollen eyes and a tissue twisted in her hand. Before anyone could start, Grandma stood beside the fireplace. "I am saying this once," she said. "My mind is sound. The Linden Avenue house is mine. I chose Clara as beneficiary because she cared for me and because I chose her. No one forced me." Gloria whispered, "Mom, please?" Grandma lifted one finger. "I am not finished." No one moved. Grandma looked smaller than everyone in that room. But for the first time in my life, she seemed like the tallest person there. A false deed was filed using my signature, Clara's name, and a dead notary's stamp. A loan was attempted against my home. My grandson's company is connected to that filing. A cousin gasped. Uncle Howard said, "A dead notary?" I opened my folder and handed him the recorder's copy, the obituary for the notary, the LLC filing, and the fraud alert confirmation. Not everything, just enough. Enough to stop lies from breathing comfortably. Gloria stood suddenly. "This is still under investigation. You cannot just accuse my son." Grandma pressed play on her phone. Gloria's own voice filled the room. "If you loved this family, you would take responsibility for the witness signature and let him correct the deed." The sound of it changed everyone's faces. Publicly, Gloria had been playing confused mother. Privately, she had asked me to become a shield. Uncle Howard looked at her. "Did you tell Clara to confess to a forged deed?" Gloria cried, "I was trying to protect Marcus." Grandma replied, "You were trying to sacrifice Clara." That sentence cut deeper than any shouting could have. Aunt Gloria sat down as if her knees had lost permission. For once, no one rushed to comfort her. That was the part she hated most, not the accusation, the lack of rescue. Then Marcus walked in. I still do not know whether Gloria texted him or whether he had been waiting outside. He came through the front door, wearing a gray sweatshirt and an expression that belonged to a man entering a room he thought he could still control. He looked at Grandma first, then at me, then at the documents in Uncle Howard's hand. "So this is what we do now," he said. "We put family on trial?" Grandma said, "No. Courts do that. This is just the part where you stop lying to relatives." Marcus laughed, but it cracked halfway through. He pointed at me. "She works with deeds. She could have made any of this." I stood. "You told me the deed was already complicated before I knew it existed. Because you're always dramatic." I took out my phone and played his text. "Tell Grandma to withdraw the complaint." If the deed gets reversed quietly, nobody has to know you witnessed it. The room went silent. Marcus's eyes moved around, searching for one friendly face. He found his mother. Gloria whispered, "Marcus, just explain." Instead, he turned toward Grandma. "You promised the house would stay in the family." Grandma's voice shook, but she did not back down. "It would have. With Clara. You mean with your favorite?" "I mean with the person who did not try to steal it while I was alive." His face twisted. Then he made the mistake Detective Reyes had predicted. He lunged for the folder in Uncle Howard's hand. Uncle Howard pulled back. Marcus grabbed his sleeve. Papers scattered. Grandma stumbled when Gloria jumped up and bumped her chair. I caught Grandma's elbow before she fell. 2 officers stepped in from the porch. Detective Reyes had asked to wait nearby because Marcus had already tried to enter Grandma's house once. They ordered Marcus to stop. He shouted that I had poisoned everyone against him. He shouted that Grandma was confused. He shouted that the house should have been his because he had plans, and I only had sentiment. As they took his arms, he looked at me and said, "You think you won because an old lady felt sorry for you?" Grandma answered before I could, "No. She won because she told the truth while you were counting on shame." The door closed behind him. This time, no one followed. Marcus was arrested that evening. But the real punishment arrived slowly. In records he could not charm. The lender withdrew the construction loan application and cooperated with investigators. The recorder's office placed the deed under fraud review. The court issued an order preventing any transfer of the Linden Avenue property until the case was resolved. The Notary Commission office confirmed the stamp was counterfeit. Marcus's employer fired him after learning he had used company software and client templates to prepare the false documents. The charges included attempted property theft, forgery, identity misuse, burglary, and elder financial exploitation. Gloria called Grandma for bail money. Grandma did not answer. That silence was more powerful than anything she could have said. For weeks, Gloria left messages, first pleading, then angry, then religious, then accusing. She said Marcus had only wanted what Grandpa would have wanted. Our grandfather had died before I was born, so using him as a witness felt especially convenient. Grandma saved every message, not to punish Gloria, to remember. That was something I had to learn too. Documentation was not bitterness. Sometimes documentation was how people like us kept reality from being edited later. My own healing was not quick. Every time I unlocked Grandma's sewing room, my wrist remembered Marcus's grip. Every time I opened a deed file at work, I saw my name on that fake witness line. I started checking my credit weekly. I checked Grandma's title alert twice a day. I hated that his crime had entered even my ordinary routines. But slowly, the fear turned into procedure. New locks, new contacts, new attorney instructions, new boundaries. The house became safer not because danger had never touched it, but because we stopped pretending keys were love. 3 months later, Marcus accepted a plea agreement. After investigators tied the fake deed to his computer, the counterfeit stamp kit to his storage unit, and the online filing payment to his business card. He was ordered to pay restitution, serve time, complete supervised release, and have no contact with Grandma or me except through attorneys. At sentencing, Gloria cried harder than anyone. Marcus read a statement. He said stress had clouded his judgment. He said he felt overlooked. He said the family never respected his ideas. Then he said, if Grandma had communicated better about her intentions, none of this would have happened. That line told me everything. His apology was still a receipt he expected us to pay. When it was my turn to speak, I did not perform forgiveness. I told the court that the damage was not only the attempted theft of a house. It was the theft of safety. He had taken caregiving, signatures, family trust, and a birthday gift, and turned them into tools of accusation. Then I looked at Marcus. You did not lose the house because Grandma chose me. You lost access to us because you treated love like a loophole. The judge approved the agreement. Outside the courthouse, Gloria stood near the steps and asked whether I was happy now. I thought of the sewing room lock, the dead notary stamp. Grandma asking me to believe she had not signed. The spreadsheet where Marcus called me guilt-driven. No, I said. I am clear now. That is different. For a while, the family remained split. Some relatives apologized quickly because they had believed Gloria. Others stayed quiet. because admitting the truth would require admitting how easily they had doubted an old woman and the granddaughter caring for her. I accepted apologies only when they named what they had believed and why it was wrong. "I'm sorry things got messy" did not count. "I'm sorry I called Grandma confused without asking for evidence" did. Grandma changed her estate documents again. Not because her decision changed, but because her attorney wanted every possible challenge blocked. The house still came to me after her death, but while she lived, it was hers completely. She added a letter explaining her reasoning in her own words. The first line said, "This house goes to Clara because she treated it as my home, not her opportunity." I cried when I read that. Grandma patted my hand and said, "Don't cry on legal paper. It wrinkles." That was Grandma. Tenderness with instructions. A year after the arrest, Grandma turned the sewing room into a small community mending room twice a month. Neighbors brought torn coats, broken zippers, loose hems, and stories. I helped with forms and coffee. Grandma helped with everything else. The house Marcus had tried to convert into cash became even more itself. One afternoon, a young mother came in with a child's backpack strap hanging by threads. Grandma fixed it while the child watched like she was performing magic. After they left, Grandma looked around the room. "This is why I wanted you to have it," she said. "You know, a house is not valuable because someone can sell it. It is valuable because someone is safe inside." That sentence stayed with me. After that birthday, I began seeing a therapist who specialized in family coercion. I expected her to tell me how to forgive faster. Instead, she asked me why I believed forgiveness required giving dangerous people new tools. I had no answer, so we built one slowly. I made a list of every sentence that had kept me quiet. "Don't embarrass the family." "Your aunt is only upset because she loves him." "Grandma is old, don't stress her." "Marcus has always been insecure." Then I wrote the sentence that should have followed each one. "The family is already embarrassed by the lie. Love does not require false testimony." "Grandma deserves truth, not managed ignorance. Insecurity does not forge deeds." Those lines became my private repair work, not revenge. Repair. Work changed too. For years, I had treated files like puzzles. After Marcus, I treated them like people's lives. When a widow came into our office worried that her nephew had borrowed papers from her desk, I did not tell her families were complicated. I helped her place a title alert before any damage could clear. When a young man found a strange lien on his mother's home, I stayed late to trace it. I knew what panic looked like when it arrived holding paperwork. Sometimes pain makes you suspicious of everyone. I fought against that. I did not want Marcus to turn me into someone who could only see threats. But pain also teaches pattern recognition. I learned the difference between fear and wisdom. Fear says nobody is safe. Wisdom says, trust the people whose actions match their access. Then, 2 weeks before my 32nd birthday, a letter arrived from Marcus through his attorney. He wrote that jail had humbled him. He wrote that he understood the pressure he put on everyone. He wrote that he hoped one day we could rebuild because cousins were almost siblings. Near the end, he asked if I would support reducing the no-contact restriction so he could apologize to Grandma in person. I folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. Maybe he would change. Maybe he would learn to speak without using apology as a crowbar. But his growth was no longer my responsibility to supervise. I asked Grandma what she wanted. She sat at the kitchen table, looked at the apple tree through the window, and said, "If a person needs access to prove remorse, they are not ready." So we did not respond. On my 32nd birthday, Grandma gave me another envelope. My chest tightened when I saw the string around it, and she noticed. "This one is safe," she said. Inside was a photograph of the blue house taken in the 1970s. Grandma stood on the porch holding a hammer. On the back, she had written one sentence. "Keep what keeps you whole." I framed it in the sewing room. Not the deed. Not the court order. Not the evidence. That photo. Because the story was never truly about a house. It was about the moment I stopped letting family turn my fear of conflict into their hiding place. Before I end this, if you have ever been pressured to stay quiet so someone else could keep looking innocent, please like this video and subscribe to She Chose Herself. Someone watching may need to hear that protecting yourself is not betrayal. Sometimes it is the first honest act a family has seen in years. I still work with property records. I still read deed histories, notary stamps, and filing dates. I still believe paper tells the truth when people are tired of doing it. But now, when I see a forged document, I understand the deeper violence. It is not only the signature, it is the assumption behind it. The belief that someone else's life, name, home, and trust can be used if the lie looks official enough. Marcus believed a locked door would scare me into surrender. Aunt Gloria believed tears would make me carry blame. Some relatives believed confusion was easier than truth. Grandma believed me. That saved more than a house. It saved the version of me that had almost accepted guilt as family duty. The blue house still stands on Linden Avenue. The apple tree still leans. The sewing room door still sticks in humid weather, but it no longer locks from the outside. Grandma made me remove that lock myself. She said, "No room in my house should ever trap you again." Sometimes people ask whether the family recovered. I tell them the truth. It did not recover into what it was. It recovered into something smaller, stricter, and safer. That is enough, because a family that requires one person to be silent is not whole. It is staged. And sometimes, the person accused of destroying the family is simply the first one brave enough to unlock the room and bring the deed into the light.